chain looking at I put together this Bitcoin model. Obviously, everybody knows this. You've all seen it a million times. The only thing I added in here was because the next thing staring us in the face is, in my opinion, obviously, clearly we're in the bear market. The November top apparently is going to be our market top this cycle. And the reason I say that is because we're getting close enough to the halving date that in past quote-unquote cycles, I've always said, for me, the cycle was rooted at the center of the halving, more or less, right? The low was nearly equidistant from the halving as the high was almost every time. Maybe not exactly, but pretty close, right? Relatively speaking, let's just take a look at that. That was 539 days from the low to the halving and 532 days from the halving to the top. 518 days from the bottom to the halving and 546 days from the bottom to the top, right? So we've gone from the bottom of this 518 days, we went out 546 days to the November top. So this appears to me to be the top, clearly. Now, I did place a wager with Heath that we would make a new all-time high before the next halving. I think I'm going to probably lose that one. I think we're going to get back a lot closer in this bear market. What I see changing is this is a very diminishing returns market, but the fundamentals and everything still stack up to be very strong to me, and I still expect this spot ETF to be approved, and that's going to give us a lot of tailwinds coming into the halving. So I think we're going to have a bigger ramp and a forward pricing of this halving. So we might tip a new all-time high right before hitting the halving or something like that. You can see the bear market low run up into the halving is still pretty substantial. If you look at the bear market low in 2015 to the halving, the price at halving was 319% gain from the very bottom tick. A little bit higher than 319% if you take it to the top tick, but I'm taking it from open price at the halving, from the lowest price to the open price at the halving. And then the lowest price in the 2018 bear market into the 2020 halving was a 200% gain. So I still expect, I've got marked on here for us to have a 70% correction from the November high. Obviously we had greatly diminishing returns. Let's shrink this all down here. Greatly diminishing returns. Instead of 9,800% or 2,800%, we had 739%. And so I would expect the drawdowns to continue to diminish as well. I guess our worst case drawdown is bringing us right back to the prior all-time high. Let me just mark that on here. I'm not necessarily expecting that, I'm not saying it's not going to happen. The reason I had it drawn a little bit higher was that was my target anyways, what I think is a fairly safe target of accumulation. But realistically, it's probably going to come back and hit the prior all-time high. Quote, never has happened before, but a lot of things haven't happened before that happened this cycle. So if I were to readjust my pricing here for the worst case scenario, about $20,000, right? If we hit $20,000, hopefully we don't close below that on, say, a weekly or monthly basis. Daily basis, we very well might. I'm not going to overreact to it, but couple weekly closings, a monthly closing, we'll see how fundamentals look. But anyway, that would be a 70% drawdown, right? So back to the prior all-time high. I think we get a higher baseline here, and then we put in a nice 150% say run to about $50,000. You can see I've got basically anchored at that swing high right there. It's to barely hit that last swing high, barely take it out, and then for a little bit of a correction into the halving, and then off we go. Something like that. I could definitely see us actually, making our way and making a new all-time high coming into the halving, and then a little sell-off post-halving. It'll be a little bit backwards, throw some people off. This is kind of what I'm looking for. And just looking at everything, obviously, clearly, we're so close now to the 200-week MA that I've resigned that we're going to trade below it for a couple of weeks before we, actually get our final bottom and start to resume